Because like I've been hosting the thing downstairs, so I have to use a lot of energy.
I like that. That was beautiful. That was extremely beautiful.
Process. Right?
I was blown away.
Yeah.
I said, wow.
People are taking it more and more seriously every time too.
Yeah, because they don't know we invented it after a few terms. You see what I mean? It looks normal.
Right, yeah.
Probably should warn you when we're streaming live, but we typically don't, but we are.
Right now, yeah.
We're streaming.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Oops.
Just so that we don't say anything that I don't say anything dumb.
We'll be streaming too.
The universe.
Really? I thought it was limited to the audience.
It's not. It's YouTube.
Oopsie.
Oh. Right. Well, it's funny you should ask because it might be something we have to adjust for one of our translators who would prefer not to be on YouTube.
Oh, really? Okay, that's okay.
We can just move.
Don't apologize. I'll talk about it with Timmy, but we shouldn't be streaming.
翻译是英文中，因为上一堂这有个很关键， 为了作业，
Okay, that's fine.
Sometimes
we don't want that on YouTube. Yeah.
I like yes，
And
意思是 foundation，
anything he wants.
一切的基础，
Here's my shirt.
一切是为受众生，
Mr. We don't want to process TV2.
所以这个基础。
By the way, I think that we're streaming at this moment.
Yeah,
That's true.
so we should probably not.
I think it's a funny thing to say.
And probably even the way we say "woo" could be interpreted by the Chinese government.
But the more you keep talking, it's
continued irony to what's going on.
easy to figure out.
还有就是这放肆就是就是让常的包括三个能藏所藏职场，第一它能藏有能力，第二所藏藏的
Just saw your email.
第三职场
Just now.
所藏的它能被熏习，因为你原来是不好的，现在熏习以后不变好，所以它是可以变的。职场呢，因为它不会用，有这三种藏呢，自己学习到啊，所以它就是它的功能是藏三种foundation是让它存留的基础。它有点像那个，就是这个桌子撑着所有的杯子，就这个作用。
It's a hard subject.
是它这个可能也是可以做的，而且也可以做。 因为第60是人，前50是人，每个石头有见分效果。眼识是颜色嘛，耳是颜声嘛，鼻是闻香嘛。那第70元那个，第80的见分，第70成就以阿赖耶识
My homework ready.
觉知为自我。阿赖耶识那个觉性被第70认为那是我。
What?
那变成那阿赖耶识原理。
Second class of mine this term.
No, I mean,
上次那
today.
例子，
Third class of
他这个
today.
觉知很原自己，他自己看见。所以也重要。对。但是他那个种子没有正好的，他没有无明变，那是中性的。
We're starting way late. Oh, yeah.
无记。
No matter where I schedule myself,
无记没有参论。
I always end up with like a 20
参
minute
论
class.
染污是负面的莫纳什，
This is how it goes.
You have to
莫纳什以阿赖耶识的见神为自我。
help you rejoice.
每一个石头有这种能力，就是我在看，
There's
我
all
在
this
听，
time
在
where
觉
everyone
知。
else is being trained.
但是莫纳什把那个当成他。
Hey, Mama.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Did you write Aubrey? Can you write Aubrey?
Sure. Tell me saw the
Tell me I
wind.
appreciate it and I don't have
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. I like your tie. That's awesome.
I don't know who gave it to me.
All right, ready? You'll have time to mess around if you
swallow.
want to look at it.
What time we have?
I have my homework. We were supposed to start 10 minutes ago.
Wait 2 days, let me ask you.
Okay.
I have to talk to my wife.
Okay.
Okay. 사시 푸기 죽심의 조참 위람등신인대 견파리 상계 신두믹대오argi 조군남닥신라주파쇼 이남 구루라나만달라 강리야타야미 상계 주남서기 조남라 장주 발류 다니 캡수치 다기 중년 기배 수남기 조라 펜칠 상계 주파쇼 상계 주남서기 조남라 장주 발류 다니 캡수치 다기 중년 기배 수남기 조라 멘칠 상계 주파쇼 상계 주남서기 조남라 장주 발류 다니 캡수치 다기 중년 기배 수남기 조라 펜칠 상계 주파쇼. I'm taking the.
You got the plane.
Yeah.
All right. Whoops. No matter how much I tried to fix it, it didn't work. That's the problem. Thank you, Stanley. First question should be pretty easy. Describe the idea of an independently effective reason.
One that
A reason which
requires
is
nothing in addition.
a reason which self-existently convinces you of the argument.
From its own side. Has the power to convince you from its own side.
Yeah, independent of.
Self-evidently helps you from its own side.
Independent of the person's karma.
That's what I was hoping to hear.
That's good.
Independent of the person's karma who's hearing a reason.
Is Mr. Wu comfortable?
All right. Doing something.
Warmer there? But you want to all move down? This seat's empty. You want to all move down one seat? This seat is not good for a boy.
It's okay.
This thing here is a problem for a boy. Girl is okay.
Leave it at that.
No,
No, no,
no,
sweetie, you stay
no,
here.
not you, Aaron.
The chair.
No, I was going to say they can just slide a little instead of having to.
Oh, okay.
Chair, yeah.
It's musical
Leave
chairs.
the chair there, and we're all moving down one chair.
That's
He
it.
moves chairs. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So the unused chair is the one that we should sit in. We apply into a subset.
Actually, everyone sit.
Phil, you can slide over before you sit down.
Yeah,
Slide over before you sit down.
The music stops.
Okay, good.
My chair is all by itself.
I'll give you guys a head start on the next one.
Is the window open? Oh, it's not open yet because of the noise.
Still
Sorry.
snow blowing.
That's what happens every Monday morning.
Oh.
Our whole
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it's better than a dirty parking lot. All right.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
What is wrong with the idea that there could be no accurate perception in a mind that still possesses a discrepancy between what it sees as being real and what is real? What is an implication of this idea? In fairness to you guys, if nobody knows this, it's from, we barely touched on it the other day, and we touched on it a lot more last term. But it's something kind of cool. So I thought and plus we didn't cover only half a line last time, so I had to use stuff from, because we had to review, so I had to pick stuff from
good.
previous,
You only did like 3 lines of your text, right?
Left.
less than 3 lines, yeah. What is wrong with the idea that there could, so I'll try to make this more clear.
Is it about how the objects appear to us, how they exist?
How about like
Is
this?
it about using broken machinery to get out
Kind of. There could be no accurate. If somebody claims that, how could there be that there's no accurate perception in a mind like ours, but they're trying to prove that to you? Is there a problem with that? They're trying to.
They're just trying to use logic. They're
because-
trying to use the same reasoning
Yeah.
to reason that they say
Yeah.
cannot be reasoned.
Yeah. They're using reasoning to say that you can't use reasoning.
Yeah.
Like they,
They're using an inaccurate perception to see that.
not that it's inaccurate, but they're trying to use logic to say that you can't use logic.
So is this about the logic, or is this about
It's about logic.
perception?
It's about logic. They're saying that you can't have accurate perception. That's what happens in the text. They're like, there's no accurate perception. I guess it's meaning logic.
Who's saying that?
Kachik. Yeah.
Of course.
Kachik is saying like, there's no tema in a mind that's not like enlightened. Basically, it's not in a direct perception like this. There's no valid perception there. And we're saying like, oh well, how do you know that? And he's like, well, I figured it out. You know, it's like, well, what'd you use to figure it out? I used accurate perception. You know, like how could he be having an accurate perception of that? So that's the problem. And then what's an implication? So Gyaltsab J mentions a couple consequences. You probably don't remember this. I don't think we touched on it the other day. The consequences of that idea are like, I guess the teachings on the four kinds of valid perception are not right. And you were going to say that you could.
Something about saying emptiness, that you could never use your mind to see emptiness if it's not broken.
Yeah. There's no point in making efforts toward the Arya path.
Wow.
Is what he said. Nice, Aaron. That's kind of a cool part of that. According to Gyaltsab J, what point needs to be considered in order to determine whether or not an independently effective reason exists? This is really hard, and the text is hard, so I couldn't come up with easier questions. But it's interesting stuff for us to have in our minds going into our study of it.
Whoa.
Do you even understand my question?
Yeah.
I'm not commenting.
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's the question of
I think
whether
I know what you're talking
people can
Yeah.
actually share an object, like share a
Perception.
basis of debate.
Yeah.
Like a banana is a banana.
Yeah, like when I say consider banana, can we share the same object? Are we both thinking of the same thing?
Yeah, that's it.
You have the same image in your mind.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the point that needs to be considered to determine whether or not an independently effective reason exists. And I guess we're about to get more into it today.
Definitely.
Okay.
More than you ever wanted.
Okay, Bawa.
I just saw it.
Oh,
A person from a state in Tibet.
it's always a good one to go to if it has a power a lot in it.
Right, Yeshua?
It is, you're right.
Any other ideas of what
Kentuckian.
Any other ideas of what else it might mean?
You showed us.
Hidden. I didn't know.
Ironically, you failed to hide it.
Long May.
Long may not.
There's a famous Guya Samaji commentary, which is the basis of all study at Gitu from Gyumi, which is Bedun Kunsel, the illumination of all hidden subjects.
Oh, cool.
So Bay and Ba are same. Yeah.
Cool. Long May.
Long May?
Long May.
Short.
Not motivated? Short.
Insufficient time. That's pretty good.
There's no time. Yeah, which refers to the refutation of.
In this case, it refers to the refutation of to one of the 10 differences. So it didn't really.
I'll give you a clue.
Yeah,
Baba referred to whether or not there was a wisdom in the mind stream of a Buddha.
Right.
And perhaps we can say it's hidden to our sight. And then this one referred to the refutation of the 10th point.
Oh.
What about the body?
According to my way of reading it, which was kind of
I thought it was the
innovative.
exclusion thing, but
Rangrik.
apperception. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Why?
It's not sufficient time
Because
for the
how
mind to
can
see
the-
itself.
Yeah, there's no time.
Yeah.
If you restrict the time to a single millisecond, there's not time for the mind to see itself. If you say 2 milliseconds, okay, then long yu,
That's
but long may. So I'm taking 9 and 10 to refer to these two.
makes sense. Perfect.
I think it makes sense, but it might end up, which I said in the footnote, that Baba Long May is some guy's name. Okay, but anyway, it fits 9 and 10, which is the last thing we just did. Okay.
All right, then this one counts.
By the way, that she is restricted to first syllables of a line.
Wrong shit.
Yeah, it's because I couldn't.
Why?
Oh,
Because it looks like it could be
because you
some.
could otherwise confuse it.
It's the first, if a she follows a single syllable in a line and it starts a syllable, you're required to use this. That's just a rule of carving books.
Oh, so it's continuation.
Okay, and it doesn't make any sense in our computer data because the lines are, you know, it doesn't. It's no longer necessary. It just means it's kind of weird if a single syllable ends a sentence and there wasn't room to carve it on the line before. They'll put it on the next line, but they'll write this shape.
And
Make sure you know it's
It means this goes from the line before. or something. So you don't use it in
words.
otherwise. Okay.
Yeah, I just couldn't figure out how to do it with this font. I couldn't.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. I figured. I'm just trying to teach you guys something.
Yeah. That. Thanks, Fish. Okay, these are two words, but they go together.
Excuse me. So that means, so if in our books, as Sugang prints them eventually, and by the way, he has proposals about how the book should look, and we should vote on it, because you're all going to have to live with it for the rest of your life. You have to take out the semicolons and replace them with commas. Yeah. Okay. In your data, in your book, before you start translating, take out all these. Because they don't mean anything anymore.
Because we're not
yeah.
retaining page
Okay,
structure.
go.
Chigo and Targle.
The side after and the side.
I was expecting Ben to get this one. That could be a hint.
Before something and at the end of something.
Oh, it's the attacker and defender in a debate.
No, this is Ngago. This is Ngago.
For some reason, the text had Targle had both.
Maybe it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Then this would be equivalent, I think.
okay, these two would be the same.
I'm guessing.
For some
No,
reason.
actually, this is not. This is never. That was just tar, comma, go.
Oh, referring to Nangol.
No, it's something. The end of something before it.
Okay,
They're not related.
you guys are on.
SNGA.
100 points.
SNGA.
Okay.
Ngago. Chi means later. Nga means earlier. Who starts? The Ngago or the Chigo?
Nangol.
Yeah, the Ngago. The person who makes the proposal is the Ngago. And who defends.
The Chigo.
No,
Oh, the
well, the Ngago has to defend his views to the Chigo.
right.
Okay, okay.
But don't we usually refer to the person
You're right,
sitting
you're
down?
right. The person standing up is the Ngago.
Yeah.
The person sitting down is the Chigo.
Chigo.
I guess. Unless he's responding to something that the sitter said. If the sitter started the debate, I'd say he's the Ngago.
Yeah.
So it's more general.
In a debate,
It's more
Yeah.
general.
like in a debate, the standard starts, but in a debate text, the sitter starts by being kachi.
Yeah,
Mm.
something like that.
Someone
Okay,
comes
again,
and
you
sits
take the
down.
plane.
Someone has.
Okay, get ready to be confused.
Wait, what?
More confused. I'm going to start here, and I know he's frustrated because we're not going anywhere. But I'm going to just do this quickly, okay? Don't look so much at the English because I didn't work on it yet.
As long as you don't make us sound bad for not getting far. Like,
So I'm just going to read it fast. Lopen chamba lengden jeki. Now,
Oh,
no, warm.
good point.
Okay, now you have to understand some. I'm going to repeat something historically, okay? So, Nagarjuna wrote his book, and then somebody named Buddha Palita wrote a book properly describing Nagarjuna's views. Then a very brilliant scholar named Baba Viveka wrote a huge book on why Buddha Palita was mistaken. And then Chandrakirti came later and defended Buddha Palita against Baba Viveka, probably after they were both dead. Okay, so, okay, got it?
Yeah.
So Buddha said stuff, Nagarjuna interpreted it correctly, Buddha Palita described Nagarjuna correctly, then Baba Viveka attacked Buddha Palita, and then Chandrakirti, I always see him as the cavalry coming at the last minute. He's like, oh, I'll help you, you know. So he showed up at the last minute and attacked who? Baba Viveka. Again, and protected,
Buddha Palita.
even though Buddha Palita's name means
Protector of the.
protector. Okay. He was the protectee, actually. Okay, got it?
But gosh,
Yeah.
is Buddha Palita considered middle way or like proto middle way?
Proto-Prasangika.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and by the way, in terms of school names, you can say Nagarjuna is higher middle way, Prasangika. Then Buddha Palita is higher middle way, Prasangika, before the words were used normally.
Right.
And then Baba Viveka came and criticized them and invented the independent school, the independent group in the middle way school. And then people like Shantarakshita carried it on. And Kamala Shila was like, his teacher was Shantarakshita, but he kind of tended more towards Prasangika. Okay, although technically he's considered a lower middle way. But if you read the commentary to Diamond Cutter, you can't believe he's lower middle way, although he has some aspects of that. Okay, and some mind-only aspects.
But he is formally higher lower middle way.
Something like that.
Yes.
Neljer Chippe Umarangyupa.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so anyway, to understand Nick's next few pages, which are extremely difficult, harder than anybody's text, and his text was super hard,
He's behind.
wherever word went to. His text, to get what we did today was,
pretty tough.
it took me a whole John Foley's lecture. Okay, so Lopen, by the way, which I really enjoyed, and I think he's a beautiful man.
He's gonna talk in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
I'm sorry, they just do their maintenance today. Okay, so I want to go back to where he first appears. Okay? Because we have a list of differences between Prasangika and independent, right? Svatantrika, okay? And then where he first appears in the list, after the list, is this paragraph. And I'm just going to read it fast. Lopan Laktan Jeki, now Baba Viveka. What he says is, Suki kewa mero nyamdu chuna, sherchin na chuki. You are asking Prajnaparamita questions, Bodo Bolamido. You are discussing the perfection of wisdom. If you're examining whether or not physical things can ever start,
Right.
okay? If you're discussing whether or not the cup was ever made in a factory, then you're talking about the perfection of wisdom, okay? But, key, disjunctive.
No.
Sukiko mepa yudonyamna. If you examine, if you are asking the question, does there exist a non-starting of the cup?
In the absence of physical form and stuff.
Does there exist a non-starting of the cup? Then you're not studying perfection and wisdom. That's a different question. Okay? If you're studying how the cup doesn't start, you're studying emptiness. If you're talking about whether the non-starting of the cup exists or not, that's some other question. It's not what we're worrying about here. Which means we're not discussing whether emptiness exists or not. We're studying emptiness. Okay? Got it? Because the first one is kind of a gakpa, and the second one is kind of a drupa.
Right.
And you can almost say that the second one is the exclusion of the opposite of the first one, and that may be why the list includes exclusions.
Right.
Okay, maybe. That's maybe what Gyaltsab J is talking about, okay? Sherchen Namichite. Rik Ngor. So Ngo is an important word in Tibetan which means the face of something, like this. Or this is called the Ngo of the TV. The front face of it is called the Ngo. Rik Ngor means, Rik Ngor is a, what do you call it?
Adjectival quality.
Special expression. Idiom. That means, how does the thing present itself to the TV screen? Okay, what presents itself to your perceptions? So perceptions are seen like a mirror. And then what presents itself to that mirror? Okay, Rik Ngo La. Rik Ngor. So Rik Ngor is a very common expression. R-I-G. Should be R-I-G. R-I-G-S is mistaken.
He spells it that way a couple times in this text.
With G-S?
Yeah, for whatever reason.
There could be a way, but anyway, normally it's Rik Ngor. You can take a vote, I don't remember. But what presents itself to your perception? Okay, Rik Ngor. Kewa Gopa Yinki, we are denying that a cup could start to the consciousness, to your awareness. Okay, that's what we're denying. But we are not trying to prove the non-existence of starting. This is Baba Viveka. We are not trying to prove the non-existence of starting. We're just proving that it doesn't start towards your mind.
Is within the mind your translation of Rick Moore here?
To the mind?
Because he has
Oh, did I write that?
or this kind of starting is denied within the mind.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go there.
Okay.
Let's go. Dena techok ni dambotar yin la. Therefore, what's correct? Techok means the side who's in the right. Techok, the side that's in the right, follows the first. Is the first. Okay? We are examining whether or not the cup starts. We are not examining whether the non-starting of the cup exists or not.
We're saying.
And now, out of those two choices, the first one is the right one. I believe according to Baba Viveka. Okay?
Oh. Well, that gives it a different flavor all of a sudden.
Since we're comparing lower middle way.
Then he has a law.
Oh.
Then he has a law, which means that the next paragraph closely relates to this paragraph. But it's almost like an extension of the same sentence. So in the same breath, he continues and says, then we get down to the question of whether or not the two opponents can ever see the object that we're taking as the example in the same way. And yeah, Tunnang means is there an agreement about the object or not? And this classically refers to, again, I like to give the example of the husband and wife want to go out to eat, and the husband says, let's go eat at the Japanese place. What's it called?
Minami.
Let's go to Minami, and then the wife says, I got salmonella there last week. You know what I mean? So take Minami restaurant. The husband, we should go there because the food is good, okay? Or whatever. Because they have tempura, okay? And she can't deny they have tempura because it's on the menu. The husband says, let's take Minami. We should go there for dinner because they have tempura, okay? And she doesn't like the restaurant because she went there and had a bad experience before. The way she sees the restaurant is as a lousy restaurant. But when he says, take the Japanese restaurant Minami, we should go there because they have tempura, in his mind, it's a shining restaurant. They have tasty food and like that. You see, so one of the rules of debate is when you take an example to talk about, you must be talking about the same thing. You must be. The only thing the opponent doesn't understand is which of the three parts. Take the restaurant, we should go there because it's got tempura.
The third.
No, it's take the restaurant.
We should go there.
It's a restaurant we should go to. It's the only thing your opponent doesn't see.
Right.
They must see that they have tempura.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's not a good reason. She must agree to three,
Right.
and she must perceive one,
Right.
or you can't have an argument.
That there's a restaurant.
Number two is what you're trying to prove.
Right.
Okay, got it? So she must see a restaurant. This must be Tunnangwa.
Right.
They have to see it in the same way. And they both have to know what tempura means.
Subagno.
Independent of whether you're talking about this restaurant or not. They must have the same mental picture when you say the word tempura. Or you can't have an argument. And they must have the same mental picture when you say Minami restaurant. Okay, the only thing they don't have the same mental picture about is desirable. Should or should not go there, okay? But what it means desirable, they should agree on. Whether one is two, they don't agree on. But she has to know what two is. The word desirable, what's it mean? She has to know the word that's used in number 1. She has to understand the words that's used in number 2. And she has to understand the words that are used in number 3. What she doesn't agree to is that 1 is 2.
Or that 3 proves 2. Yeah.
Well, no, she doesn't.
She might.
No, she has to.
The 3 proves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Now, a good reason is defined as susumimba.
Right. If it's correct.
3 relationships have to hold. She believes that 1 is 3. She accepts
They have to.
that Minami has tempura. And she accepts that
All 3s are 2s.
if they had tempura, we should go there.
That's a correct reason.
And she agrees that if you shouldn't go there, it's because they don't have tempura.
Right.
She agrees to all 3. Okay, she should agree. Well, then why didn't she agree to the guy in the first place? She never tied it together. You see, it's not that she doesn't agree to all the components. She does. Otherwise, it's not a good argument. If any of those 3 relationships don't hold, the husband shouldn't be saying this argument. Okay, got it?
Yeah, we got it.
She agrees to all the pieces, but she didn't tie it together yet. That's the definition of a good reason. Okay, you're not allowed to use terms to your opponent that they don't accept. You're not allowed. Okay. Now, by definition, when you're arguing about emptiness or self-existence, your opponent doesn't even understand the term. They don't know what's Minami. Why?
They've never seen it.
When they think Minami, they think self-existent Minami.
Right.
And when you're talking about Minami, you're talking about non-self-existent Minami. It's impossible in a debate about emptiness that there can ever be a first term.
I see. So that's why these 2 paragraphs relate to each other. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
because he's saying that we're not talking about.
Well, I'm saying your job is to show the relationship. Gyaltsab J makes huge leaps.
Yeah,
He doesn't explain himself. He just leaps to the next thing. It's up to the translator to struggle with it. Okay, got it?
Right,
You okay?
Appendices. Yeah.
You okay? So and that's why in the list of, can you turn the air conditioner off or something, or turn it on? Just turn it off for a while. That's why in the, where was I? That's why in the list of differences between those 2 schools,
Yeah.
they often start out by saying, when you're examining emptiness.
Right. Yeah. There's a couple of
They were
them.
not a list of
Yeah.
differences yet. We-
Dundan Demba Chupi Kapsu. Something like that.
Time of examining such.
Yeah. They want to talk about arguments that are proofs of emptiness because in those they get messy about the chuchen, the first term, Minami.
Right.
They get messy.
Right.
Why? If I'm trying to convince you of emptiness and I say, take Minami restaurant, and by the rules of logic, you must know what's Minami restaurant for me to take it. But if we're proving emptiness, by definition, you don't perceive Minami restaurant.
Right. And it's a negative thing, so it's even harder to be.
You can say that, but the point is, you can never see the first term.
Only a 10th level bodhisattva.
Yeah, or something like that. So the question is the whole use of logic to prove emptiness thrown into question by the fact that the opponent can never see the first term? They can't see Minami restaurant in the way that you're seeing it when you say, take Minami restaurant.
Well, we're making sense out of Gyaltsab J.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I mean, no, this is
This
the...
relates to the rest of the.
This is the huge.
Right.
This is now they're going to start a huge argument. You
The
know,
way to fix it.
is it hopeless
You talk about
to try to prove emptiness to someone?
Yeah.
Because by the rules of logic, your opponent must understand the first term.
Only a problem if you
If they don't know what the hell's Minami, if they think Minami is something that happens after an earthquake in Japan, no, then you can't say because they have tempura. They'll say,
No, those fish are alive.
tsunami is tempura? You see what I mean? If they don't know what the first term is, you can't have an argument. That has to be tumoa.
It has to be shared.
It has to be shared. Or you can't have an argument. So is it impossible to prove emptiness to another person?
No.
Why?
Not according
Because
to
the
Gyaltsab
terms
J.
themselves they can't understand.
Yalamajo.
Okay. By definition, you can't have an argument.
Damajo.
Okay, so that's where we are. Okay. Deyang chuchen la tunang yume yende. Do they have the same perception of the object under consideration? Minami. Okay. Tume yende, yume yende, that's a discussion. do they or do they not
Right.
see the chichen,
Right.
the first term, in the same way?
Right.
Is it an Arya and a non-Arya debating?
No, it's a Prasangika and an Angupa.
Right.
Two schools of middle way.
So nothing about where they're at on the path.
No, not here. Not this problem. Rangyuki tak yumeni, and whether or not an independently effective reason exists comes down to the question of Minami restaurant.
Right.
Okay? Targo, Chigo, you're right, by the way. You're totally right. I apologize. He seems to use Targo here as Ngago. I apologize.
As the
He could be.
attacker?
He could be.
It
tired.
could be a bad card. It could be a wrong typing, but I doubt it. It's possible. Okay, Chigo could. So I apologize. I'm wrong. Tunangdu. She here means chichen. It's just it's another word for chichen.
Object.
The foundation of the argument or the thing you're arguing about is called shi or chichen. It doesn't matter. Okay. Tunang. Do they see it in the same way? Okay. Drup madrup.
And whether or not
Is
that's what I.
is there or is there not present a first term that they both agree on? Okay? La rak lepa. The question of whether an independently effective argument exists comes down to Minami restaurant.
Cool.
Okay, got it? Okay.
Right.
All right. Which is the fourth of the 10 disagreements. I made a note here. Okay. And now he goes off on it. And he goes off on them in out of order. Okay? He discusses 6 and 7 first,
Right.
up here, okay? Then suddenly he's back at 4. Okay? I think he had ADD. I don't know. That's excuse me. I shouldn't say that.
Something like that.
Now, that's a side comment on the word baba used in a kind of reasoning. I'm not going there. We talked about it already.
A little bit. Yeah.
Ngobotok shuki means by the nature of a word or by a thing, can it suggest other things? Can smoke suggest fire?
Right. Yes.
That would be called ngobotok.
Right.
Is there some potential within smoke that by itself suggests fire?
Ooh. Yeah. Sure.
That's called ngobotok. Okay?
Substantial evidence.
Okay, and there's,
Yeah.
okay, but that's okay. We're not going there.
Cool.
What he says, what I believe he says there, is when we say the nature of the thing referring to smoke, that it suggests fire, okay? We're not talking about the nature of a thing which is defined as being a function. Because the word can refer to either, okay? The word can refer to either. Okay, good. Now we're where we got up to.
That's about it.
Tanyepi Semi, you want to read?
Sure.
Who's got the plane, Adam?
Tanye pe tseme tunang. De konani la chupe kapsumirunga. Rit ngor churchen. Mepalopun lekten jeki kyang kelang bao shena.
Okay, now first of all, Shena, which means
Someone may come and ask.
so we should be able to find something wrong in this already.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the first thing to say about this very difficult section, just be aware the first sentence is supposed to be wrong. It's somebody else's idea.
Okay.
And he says, Lopen Lengden J Ki Kyang Kelang. Even Baba Viveka accepts that. So it has to be wrong. Okay? All right? He says, even Baba Viveka accepts that. And what he means is, Tanye Petsema.
Yeah, a conventional accurate perception.
Yeah, but it means
Ordinary.
a perception which is not operating in the realm of emptiness.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay, which is not asking the question, is this exist ultimately or not?
Right.
If we're discussing whether or not this thing started in and of itself, right? Is that are we using a Tanye Petsema or a Dedam Petsema?
say that one more time.
Are we using a Tanyepe
It's a
Tsema
Tanyepe
or a
Tsema.
Dundampe Tsema?
It just depends who you say.
Are we using our emptiness logic, or are we senses, or are we using our normal senses?
But does it count as an emptiness sense if we're not in the direct perception of emptiness, or like if we're?
Sure.
Oh yeah, it does. Well, that's part of the question.
Yeah, 'cause that's what-
That's a big part of the question. Okay.
So that's what I was thinking. Tanyepe Tsema.
So the other guy said, Kapsu Mirung, when you are examining suchness,
Right.
it's wrong to talk about a shared perception which is normal, everyday perception, nominal perception, conventional perception, call it conventional. Okay? When you're talking about the emptiness of the cup, it's totally improper to use any kind of normal perception. There's no perception of a cup
Okay.
because you're examining emptiness. Okay? Ringor Chochin Mepa. Therefore, because you cannot use a normal perception in the examination of emptiness, okay?
Right.
Then you can't talk about a cup. You can't examine a cup's emptiness. Because to examine the cup's emptiness, you have to examine cup. To examine cup, you cannot be using emptiness perception. You gotta be using conventional perception. Therefore, there cannot be a minami. Restaurant.
There cannot be a basis that the two agree on
Yeah.
when talking about
No,
emptiness.
he said chichen me
There's no subject.
to that state of
To that
mind.
state of mind.
Rignor.
To the state of mind in Tanyepe Tsema,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
there's no.
Yeah. Yeah. Kapsu Mirum. You cannot use conventional perceptions when you're discussing emptiness. When you're exploring chupa, dekoneni, emptiness, you cannot use normal perceptions. Therefore, there's no cup, there's no Minami restaurant.
Right.
And he says, even Baba Viveka agrees to that.
Right.
Okay, then this is all so it gets worse and worse. Okay, so I went to get some help, and I propose we go to get some help. Okay, I propose that we go through a page from Kalka, Chögyam Kalka, Ngawang Pelden, this great tantric writer who wrote. I translated his whole book. It's part of the tantric series. 6 or 7.
6.
Can you send me this version, or did you already?
I did already.
He did moments before class.
Okay, so I propose we go to this extraordinary Mongol scholar. And that's why it's so exciting that we got permission to catalog the 200,000 books there. God knows what's there. There could be some really cool stuff there, okay? Because these guys were not slouches.
In this section, bring more is without the X or have the X.
Yeah, he says Riksnor. Now he could mean to a logical perception, but I don't think so. I believe that also you can say Rikpe as a past tense of Rikpa, to know.
When I've looked this
But
up
it's rare.
When I've looked this up in dictionaries, it says it treats it as if it's its own idiom with an S, as a separate idiom, and it calls it to logically speaking, or to the face.
It could be.
Or something.
It could be. It could be. I'll leave it for now.
Okay, that's why I put I put logically speaking in my original.
But I don't think so, because what he's saying is there could be no normal perception. Therefore, there's no chichen to your mind at that moment.
Okay. Yeah.
He's not talking about the logic of the chichen.
Right.
He's saying you can't. The chichen by itself is not logic.
He's just spelling it that
It's
way.
the cup.
Yeah. It makes much more
He's
sense.
talking about can you see the cup or not. Okay, he's not talking yet about logic. There's no syllogism yet. We're just talking about the first term. We're just talking about the first term. And there's no logic yet.
Right.
There's no syllogism yet.
Yeah.
He's saying by the time you get to the end of Minami restaurant, it's already impossible. You know? Not talking to your logic. He's talking to your perceptions, because your mind is operating in emptiness. your mind is exploring emptiness. It cannot see a cup to its perception. Okay?
This is a Kachik saying that Baba Viveka says that?
Yeah. Even Baba Viveka says there's no Tunanga. There's no... according to him, which means Baba Viveka must have said there was. Let's go to Kalka Norm Pelden. Okay? Okay. Kalka means Mongol in Mongol. Okay.
Usually
it's Khalkha.
Yeah.
Khalkha.
People call it Pelden.
Khalkha means Mongol. It's the ancient Tibetan word for Mongol. They don't say Mongol or anything like that. The modern Tibetan word for Mongol is Sokpo.
Sokpo, right. Yeah.
Which is close to the word for spy, so be careful. Okay. Okay, please read these 2 lines. I'm going for help. And it's a side thing. I'll tell you something about his text. If we get it straight, it's a great contribution. If we don't slow down and take the time, it won't be such a contribution. You see, I mean, I can translate it, we can translate it, I can do it today, I can write the whole thing. But will it be correct?
We gotta take our time.
You know, let's get it perfect. Okay. And that takes time. Okay, go.
Tong Chenmo Tarna.
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 Keep going.
Okay. Shung de Tiktani Golwa Nikar Kar Tonang Jupe Churchen Mete Churchen Mixop de Tundampar Madru Par War Madrupar
Madrupar. Yeah.
Par Lekten Rangniki Kelang Pe Chirte.
Okay, good. Okay, Hlaktong Chemo probably refers to the great Vipassana, referring to the section in the Lamrim Chemo on Vipassana, which we're going to do in the Lamrim retreats in 2 years. We're on a schedule to start it in 2 years from now. 8 retreats from now, 7 retreats from now, we'll start the Hlaktong Chemo as dessert. And it's half as long as the Namdra Lakchang, which is gonna be 12 years. So you're talking 6 years on that. Okay, Lakton Chamotana, Shungde Tsiktuni, the meaning of that scripture, okay? The meaning of those words in that scripture is Golwa Nikar. To both debaters, to both of the debaters, Tunang de Drupe Churchen Mete, there is no Minami, which is perceived in a similar way by both. Tunang de Drupe. Okay? There is no restaurant which is perceived in the same way by both debaters. It's not possible. That's what that book is saying.
This is Kafka.
Okay, they're probably talking about Baba Vivek, I guess. I don't know.
And what's the subject matter of the debate?
Whether or not
has he mentioned that we're talking about emptiness? Or is he just
you can say Shungde Tsuktin Churchen. I mean, you can take those words of that book if you want.
But he's talking about...
No, does this author say when debating about emptiness?
Well, it's Vipassana.
He's talking about the Vipassana section of the Lamrim Chemo.
No. In the Vipassana section of the Lamrim Chemo,
right. That's
it's referring to a section of Baba Viveka, probably. And what that book is saying is that, or what this book is saying, he doesn't say what book. I could go find it, but I didn't do that yet. There is no restaurant, Minami restaurant, which looks the same to both debaters, husband and wife. I'm putting it in real terms. Why? Because, by the way, the Churchen in this argument is the mik, is the eye. The eye. The eye sense power. You can say optic nerve of the heart or whatever.
The sense power, all of them.
Okay. In this Lamrim Chemo example, what's being discussed is not a cup. It's your eye. Okay. Okay. Etc. Eyeballs, noses, ears, tongue. Okay. Okay. Chichen, the chichen is the mixo,
Right.
the I and so on. They dendamba madupa,
They're not ultimate.
that they don't exist ultimately, is accepted by Baba Viveka himself. Okay, so so we start with this question. Let's talk about your eyes. Okay, got it? Let's talk about your eyes. Does Baba Viveka think they exist in an ultimate way or not?
No.
He does not. Because after all, he is
Madhyamika.
he's still a middle way guy. He's just a lower middle way guy. Does he accept that your eyes exist ultimately? No. Okay? Dendampa Madhupa. He himself, Rangi. So Tsongkhapa is like, he himself doesn't accept that it could exist. Okay? Lengten Jeki, Mixok de Dendampa Kewa Mepa Dupe Chuchente Kupe Chiro. In fact, he gives the I and such things as his example when he wants to prove that things can't start in an ultimate way. So instead of using the starting of a cup, he's referring to the starting of your eye. Okay? Your eye cannot start. When you got conceived inside your mom, okay, your eye didn't start in and of itself, ultimately. Okay?
Yep.
Even he says that. And when he gives his emptiness arguments, what chichen does he take?
The I and such.
The I. And what's he prove about them?
That they can't start ultimately.
Good. You want to go deeper?
Yeah.
And we just said, he would say, I'm not trying to prove that the fact that the I doesn't start ultimately, okay, that's not what I'm trying to talk about.
Right. Exists.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about whether it starts or not. I'm not talking about whether or not the not starting of the I exists.
Sure.
I'm not talking about that.
Right.
Okay, got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's using this as proof that they don't have a shared object according to Baba Viveka because Baba Viveka.
We didn't. Let's go through the debate. Okay. Ona, go ahead.
Ona. Tetar kelen mu de chir
Te
de chir gyurshena. Tetar na mitso na matruwe shepe neden mayimpar gyurte.
Okay, this is cool. Ona deta kelen mu. Okay, so he believes that. He doesn't believe. He believes that the I does not start in an ultimate way. Okay? Ultimately speaking, the I doesn't start. Okay, ona deta kelen mu. Okay, we all agree he admits that. Chigir. So what's the point? De chirgir. What does that prove? So what's the point? So okay, he accepts that. Well, why do we care? Why do we care? Why you say he himself accepts that? Right. So what? It's just so what? Chirgyur. They, by that fact, chirgyur. What's supposed to come out of that?
Big deal.
Yeah. Detana misogni matue shepe neden. If that's the case, who's talking? We are. Because somebody came and said, so what? So what if he doesn't accept that? What? That the starting of the I can be ultimately existing.
The starting of the I
does not start ultimately. Then so what? So what? Well, that means, okay, detana means, well, the point is, that means mix sokni matue shepe nidin mayimba gyorte. It means the I itself cannot be the object which an unmistaken perception can perceive.
The I itself cannot
be the perception of an unmistaken perception.
The perception of an unmistaken perception?
The
object of an unmistaken
perception. Nyedun means which it locates. Nyedun means what it looks at. Okay? Then what you're saying is that anytime we think of the I, we are mistaken. If the I doesn't exist ultimately, then anytime you think of the I, you're in a mistaken state of mind.
Right.
Okay?
2 minutes over.
3 minutes over.
Then what you're saying, double negative here. Then what you're saying is that a perception of an I cannot be a correct perception. Impossible. Why?
Because to an unless
because it doesn't exist ultimately.
Right.
That implies that all perceptions of
Anything.
all physical perceptions are mistaken.
Yeah, all perceptions.
Oh, sorry.
Ultimate.
All perceptions of all perceptions of physical objects are taking them to be ultimately existing.
Oh, well, we didn't get that far yet. did
No,
we?
it's the implication
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He says, I'll say it again. The I cannot be the object of an unmistaken perception because all perceptions think that what they're looking at exists ultimately,
Right.
but they don't.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So,
By the way, where's that going? It's okay if we ran out of time.
yes.
Where's that going?
Whether or not we can
we talk
discuss
about
anything. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'll say it again, okay? Does Bhava Viveka accept or not that the cup exists ultimately?
No.
He does not accept, okay? So does he accept or not, you can have a correct perception of it.
No. Oh, well.
Yeah, he says you cannot.
Yeah.
Accepts that you cannot.
And anytime you look at a cup, you're making a mistake.
Right. Right. Right.
Therefore, we can't talk about cups when we're talking about emptiness.
When we're talking about
Because two people cannot agree on what they are.
Right. So there's nothing to talk about.
You can't debate about it.
Coffee,
Now,
grapefruit.
is that what he believes or not? Because coming later, Chandakirti accuses him of that.
Right.
That's why I got the historical thing set up for you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, now because later, hang on,
We're gonna hit Chandra.
Our problem was that
We totally are.
here, down below here.
I found
I want to say the sentence and then we can
must
stop.
break 'cause
Okay.
we're gonna be late.
Rangyuki ta kelembadang, believing in a self,
Reason.
believing in a reason which is independently effective, okay, and believing that there's at the same time that to the mind there cannot be a chichen, a Minami restaurant, okay, are nangyal. They are
Compatible.
incompatible things,
Right.
and Dawadrakpa accuses Bhava Viveka of that.
Right.
Beautiful.
Right.
Now we're talking.
Okay. Chandakirti accuses him of saying that.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah.
You give up one or the other. You can't have both.
Right. Right.
Okay? Either you can't talk about Minami restaurant, or you can have your independent reason.
Right. Right.
But you can't have both. Who said that?
Master Chandra Kirti.
Yeah, complaining to
Baba Viveka.
Finish.
But is this only the idea that two people can't have the same Minami in their minds? Is that only regarding talking about emptiness, or is that all?
Yeah, we often say in this literature the adverbial phrase when we're talking about emptiness. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, shunyata.
I mean, in the end, it applies to all reasons,
Yeah.
but especially when we're talking about emptiness.
Right.
If, and by the way, since you asked the question,
9 minutes till your class starts.
there's a famous argument between the Vaisheshika Hindu group, his Hindu group, and the Buddhists. And they say, take sound, it's impermanent because it's made, right? It's changing because it's made. Okay, the most famous logical statement in Buddhism.
Right.
The first great Buddhist logical statement of all time. Because this author, Gyal Tsabje, is going there. If it's true that in a discussion about emptiness, two Madhyamika followers from different branches of Madhyamika can't agree on a chichen, then the first Buddhist argument ever made should not have been made. Because a Vaisheshika and a Buddhist never see sound in the same way.
Right. So there's no debate.
So there's no Buddhist logic, and Adam has to retire. Okay, got it? Got it? That's where Gyal Tsabje is going.
Ben is just
That's where Gyal Tsabje is going.
drink his life away.
Yeah, because you asked me the question, are we only talking about proofs involving emptiness?
But if he expects that
That's a proof involving impermanence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Because that Hindu school believed that Om was eternal.
Right. So Gyal is actually going to mention that?
He goes there. He goes there.
So that's
No, he
just
goes
commentary
there.
That's going to shake them out of They're mistaken.
Oh no, don't get me there. Don't let me go there.
You
Like,
should stop again so you can get to class on time.
yeah, it's not as much fun. They accused me of not having as much fun downstairs. I said, I'm sorry.
We're filming. Sashi.
Puki Joshi Metotam Rira Mingshi Nende Kempali Sangye Shindu Mingde Uwani Yokunanda Shingla Chepasho Yam Guru Ananda Lakanya Dayami Ni Kewo Gun Sanam Yeshe Tzotzok Shing Sanam Yeshe Le Chume Tamba Kuni Tobar Sho Smoky Doki.
Thank you. It's amazing.
Ooh, that was fun.
Thank you.
We got one line. We got through one line.
1.5 maybe. That was.
But we did it well.
I don't
You know,
that I'll be
the
able to-
theory of like carpentry
Good luck, man.
is do it perfect and you'll speed up later.
Yeah.
Do it perfect
next
and you'll
text.
speed up later.
I'll speed up on the next
The
text.
speed will come, but don't be sloppy. Don't be sloppy. It'll end up slower. You
I
know,
don't think
do
I'll
it.
be able to catch up to the rest
Nail
of the
it.
texts.
Nail it now, and then that'll. Later you can speed up
Thank you. It's
because
really,
it'll come back again.
it's an honor to
If you don't get it now, it'll haunt you later.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna
We
make a-
shouldn't avoid. I was gonna figure it out. Okay. We shouldn't ever allow ourselves to go on if we don't crack something. Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Can I sneak her into Foley when you